I want to just get started with something that is a very interesting question that has always been posed to me. And it's one of the things that I guess we all have this question. And the question is, why do good people suffer? Or why do we suffer? Now, I'm not going to go through all kinds of theological reasons for this. I'm not going to say that I have every answer for it. But there are a few reasons why God allows us or allows suffering to occur in our lives. And I say this because there's quite a few people right now that are suffering. We just went through a major storm in our area and down south. There's major storms, earthquake that happened in Haiti. There are tons of things that are happening across the world. Politically, economically, physically, we're dealing with a pandemic still. There are a lot of things that we're wondering, why are we suffering so much? Have you ever asked that question? Anybody been to a funeral lately and asked the question, why? That person seems so young. Oh wow, that person seemed like they had so much more life to live. I think that the biggest tragedy is when you see a child. At least an adult, you say, well, they got to adulthood. But a child, you say, why? Why does that happen? And we don't always have a good answer for it, to be honest with you. A lot of us get angry, and we get angry with God. By the way, God is not put off by our anger. I just put that out there. God doesn't mess him up if we get angry. He understands our emotion. He understands that we get angry. But I always wondered to myself, why? The first thing that I notice is that people suffer because there's sin in the world. Now, some of us don't really believe that. There's some people who say, well, the world is a great place, it's a beautiful place, it's perfect. But we sin, don't we? We break the law. We lie. We cheat. We say half-truths and white lies, whatever that is still a lie, right? We do things. We make mistakes. But we also disobey the laws of God. And because of that, we suffer. Adam and Eve disobeyed the law of God. God said, don't eat of that tree. They ate of the tree. And it went downhill from there. But before we get too driven to saying, hey, it's their fault, we do our own things. We make our own messes. Human life is kind of frail, isn't it? And Jesus knew this. Jesus, in the book of John, chapter 16, verse 33, Jesus is talking, and he's saying, I have told you these things, so that in me you may have peace. In me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart, I have overcome the world. So Jesus doesn't give us this impression that we'll never have problems, that we'll never be hurt, that we won't have things that happen to us that are unfair. We live in a world, as beautiful as it is, that's broken. It's not perfect. It is an imperfection. And we have to deal with that. And guess what? We also have to deal with imperfect people. In a couple of months, you will have first-hand experience of how to deal with imperfect people when you start to invite family over for Thanksgiving, or Christmas, or whatever other family traditions you might have. You will begin to realize how imperfect not only is your family, but you yourself. And you'll start to realize that because we're imperfect, we make a lot of dumb mistakes. Has anybody made any in their life? Eat a lot. People are raising their hands. Why? And guess what? We keep making them. Sometimes we make the same mistake over and over again. And we're wondering what's going on in our life. But we make mistakes, and guess what happens? Some of the mistakes that we make, they hurt ourselves, but they also hurt other people. Other people feel pain and suffering because we make mistakes. And guess what? We feel the pain and suffering because of someone else's mistake. You see, we're in this world together. As much as you like to think that you're in your own world and nothing's going to touch you, everything is related. We're in relationship with God, but we're also in relationship with imperfect people in an imperfect world. And that can be problematic. There's a psalmist that asked this question. Surely God is good to Israel, it says in Psalm 73, to those who are pure in heart. But as for me, my feet had almost slipped. I had nearly lost my foothold. For I envied the arrogant when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. They have no struggles. Their bodies are healthy and strong. They are free from common human burdens. They are not plagued by human ills. Therefore, pride is their necklace. They clothe themselves with violence. From their callous hearts comes iniquity. Their evil imaginations have no limits. They scoff and speak with malice, with arrogance. They threaten oppression. Their mouths lay claim to heaven, and their tongues take possession of the earth. Therefore, the people turn to them and drink up waters in abundance. They say, how would God know? Does the Most High know anything? This is what the wicked are like, always free of care. They go on amassing wealth. Surely in vain I have kept my heart pure and have washed my hands in innocence. All day long I have been afflicted, and every morning brings new punishments. Have you ever asked that question? Why it seems like people that should not be successful are successful? They seem to cheat their way to the top. They have no scruples about stealing or hurting other people or taking advantage of people. And you say, look at this. This person has it all. Doesn't God see this? Doesn't God realize that this person is evil and arrogant? That's what the psalmist is asking. He's asking the same question. Why does it seem like wicked people always get ahead?